Right, this is continuation of the part A of this session number 4. So this is not a separate video, so please link with the part A of the video under session number 4. Right, so we have been discussing the audit evidence chapter. So at the first part of the video I explained you the summary of the how audit procedures are coming or audit procedures are located in the auditing flow, and then I explained you in that video a very important concept, the financial statement assertion. So you need to have very thorough understanding on that finance statement assertion. So please go back and watch the part A carefully at least 2 to 3 times, because that is one of the important concept not only for BL5 and even going forward, right. So basically now I am going to discuss the audit evidence chapter summary, certain concepts with you, and after that we will come to the question discussion, right. So basically in this audit evidence, the first thing that we should learn is, right, right, what is audit evidence, which I explained you. So what is audit evidence, which I explained you? The audit evidence mean what? The information that is based by the auditor in arriving at conclusion. That means there are 3 parties: management, shareholder, auditor. So auditor comes and check the financial statement and give an opinion to the shareholder. In order to give this opinion to the shareholder, auditor has to have some basis. Auditor has to have some information, that is called audit evidence. So this auditor to give a conclusion to the shareholder whether this finance statement contains material misstatement or not, for that he needs to have evidences, he needs to have some type of information. That information is called as audit evidence, right. I explained you an example at the first part of the video. So that is, for example, if it is a bank, right, need to have a bank, sometime bank information will be the evidences, right. Just take an example, land. If this is a land, in order to ensure that the land does not contain misstatement, what would be the audit evidence for the land? Would be the land deed. If it is a motor vehicle, the original motor vehicle registration certificate. If it is an inventory, we will discuss the practical side later. If it is inventory, the physical verification of inventory. If it is debtors, confirmation. If it is deferred tax calculation. If it is stated capital, secretary confirmation. So likewise we will be discussing those things, but likewise you need to have some type of basis to conclude each and every line item, including those assertions do not contain material misstatement. Those are called audit evidence. විගණන සාක්ෂි. විගණකවරයාට කොටස් හිමියන් විසින් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන සහතික වීම ලබා දෙන්න, මේ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන කට්ටලය හොඳයිද නරකයිද කියලා කියන්න සාක්ෂි අවශ්‍යයි. ඒ සාක්ෂි විවිධාකාරයෙන් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ සාක්ෂි ලිපි ලේඛන වෙන්න පුළුවන්, වාචික දේවල් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, දැකපු දේවල් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, ඒ ඕනම දෙයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Information, තොරතුරු. Those are called audit evidence, right? I hope that you are clear on that. So now the one more thing you have to learn, this important thing, this audit evidence should be 2 concepts. One is, we call this audit evidences should be sufficient and appropriate. Remember that. This is another foundation or a foundation vocabulary. The sufficient and appropriate. So this auditor, the information that is gathered by the auditor should be sufficient, should be appropriate. What is that? Sufficient and appropriate. Sufficient and appropriate. What is that? Sufficient and appropriate. Now remember, the sufficient mean the quantity, appropriate mean quality. For example, let's say in front of the Charity Institute there is a murder. කවුරු කෙනෙක්ව මෙතන මරලා දාලා ඉන්නවා. දැන් අපි කියමුකෝ මෙතන Charity Institute එකේ ඉස්සරහා CID එකෙන් ඇවිල්ලා නැත්නම් පොලිසියෙන් ඇවිල්ලා අපරාධ ස්ථානයක් කියලා ලොකු බෝඩ් එකක් ගහලා මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? එතනේ තියෙන හැම අපි පෑනක් වැටිලා තියෙනවා නම් වෙන මොකක් හරි වැටිලා තියෙනවා මේ හැම එකක්ම සාක්ෂි විදිහට රැස් කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ මේ වටේ ඉන්න අයගෙන් ස්ටේට්මන්ට්ස් ගන්නවා. මොකද උනේ කියලා CCTV බලනවා. මේ ඔක්කොම සාක්ෂි රැස් කරනවා. ඒ සාක්ෂි රැස් කරනකොට පොලිසිය කාර්යය දෙකක් දිහා බලනවා. එකක් තමයි ඒ සාක්ෂි ප්‍රමාණාත්මක වෙන්න ඕන quantity sufficient. දැන් මෙතන මේ එක්කෙනෙක්ගෙන් ස්ටේට්මන්ට් එකක් අරන් බෑ අඩුම 10 දෙනෙක්ගෙන් ස්ටේට්මන්ට් එකක් ගන්න ඕනේ. CCTV එකක් චෙක් කරලා බෑ අඩුම CCTV පහක්වත් චෙක් කරන්න ඕනේ. quantity. Second one quality. අපි CCTV මොකුත්ම චෙක් කරන්නේ මේ වටේ පාරේ ගිය ඔක්කොගේම අපි ස්ටේට්මන්ට් ගන්නවා. Even the quantity is high, quality is low. Right? Or those statements are just gathered by the new police officers without experience. Then those information or evidences are not appropriate. Or sometime incident has happened here, they are checking the CCTV of BMICH. Other side, not appropriate. So similarly, the auditor, what the information or audit evidences that the auditor gather fundamentally should comprise these two. So sufficient audit evidences should be sufficient and audit evidence should be appropriate. This is one of the very fundamental thing that you need to aware. Right? So you have to know this word, remember these two words. Wherever when you are telling the audit evidences, audit always add two more words to the beginning of that audit evidence sentence, that is sufficient and appropriate audit evidences. We don't say just audit evidence, we say sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, right? So write that, please remember that two words. Then in this audit evidence, further this audit evidence, further we talk about, basically there is another two concept. One is relevance and reliable. Audit evidence should be relevant. We call relevance or relevant. Audit evidence should be relevant or relevance. We call logical connection. All audit evidence should be relevant. Now for example, if you are doing the auditing on inventory, all the audit procedures which you are performing or audit evidences that you are gathering should be getting connected to the inventory. But you are doing something on a trade debtors which are not connected to the inventory, then those are not, there is no logical connection between the two procedures. So therefore always auditor look at the relevance of the audit procedures. The next one is the reliable. This is a very important one. So the reliable, especially the source. So auditor can gather so much of audit evidences from so many sources, from inside the company, outside the company, likewise many. Before explaining this one, I'll just tell you one example. Police police station. ගිහලා නැත්තම් යන්න පුළුවන් බලන්න. පොඩ්ඩක් ගිහින් බලලා එන්න. ඒකට යන්න පුරුදු වෙන්න ඕනේ පොලිසිය වලට. උසාවි වලට පොඩ්ඩක් ගිහිල්ලා චුට්ටක් සෝවර්ෂාපණෙන් just ගිහලා බලලා පොඩ්ඩක් පොඩි එන්න ඕනේ. දැන් චාර්ටර් අකවුන්ටන්ට්ලා වෙන්නනේ යන්නේ. පොලිසිය යන්න ඕනේ මේ වැරදක් කරන පොලිසියට යන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. වෙන process එක බලා ගන්නක හොඳයි. ඉතින් අපි ඉස්සරහට යනකොට හැම දෙයක්ම දැනගන්න ඕනේ. ඔක්කොම තියෙන්නේ අපිට නෙමෙයි තියෙන්නේ ඔක්කොම. දැන් පොලිසියට ගියාම අපි තමකෝ ඔයාගේ මේ මොකක් හරි ගෙදරට හොරෙක් පැනලා එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔයාගේ මොකක් හරි ෆෝන් එක නැති වෙලා හරි මොකක් හරි වෙලා ඔයා පොලිසියට යනවා කම්ප්ලේන් එකක් දාන්න පැමිණිල්ලක්. සූරු පැමිණිල්ල අංශයට ගියාම PC මහත්තයෙක් ඉන්නවා. එයා කියනවා කියන්න කියලා කියනවා. මම එදා මෙන්න මෙහෙම යනකොට මෙහෙම යනකොට මගේ ෆෝන් එක සාක්කුවේ තිබුණා මෙන්න මේක මෙහෙමලා කියනවා. ඒ කියන ඔක්කොම අරයා ලියනවා. ලියලා ඉවරලා අන්තිමට කියන මේක අස්සම් කරන්න කියලා. දැන් බලන්නකෝ. මං කතාව කිව්වා එයා පොතේ ලිව්වා පොත අස්සම් කරන්න කියනවා. ඇයි ඒ? උසාවි ඉදිරියට ගියාම උසාවි ඉස්සරහට ගියාම the verbal evidences or a verbal thing that you told the previously will not be accepted as the reliable evidence. what you told is in writing, you have been acknowledged through your signature, is accepted by the court. Similarly, when we go to the client places to conduct the audit of finance statement, management will be telling so many stories. They will be telling so many things. That happened this way, this happened that way, and that's how the finance statement done, this is how the transaction is made, this is the selection process is made, this is the process. There are a lot of stories are told by the clients, management. So in this diagram, in our diagram, management, shareholder, auditor. To the auditor, the management is told so many stories. Always, all the stories can be taken as evidences provided, mainly provided. Those information should be basically written evidences. Always, written evidences are more reliable than the verbal evidences. Remember that. As if you are auditor in one day, always auditor look at in a very simple way. For let's say the management say, or a finance manager say, this is how this happened. You have to slowly tell that, okay, can you send me an email? Email is a written evidence. Or can you give me a letter signed by you? It's a written evidence. Always auditor look at to the written evidences as why? Because it's more reliable. Right? And then you might have gone to the interviews now for audit firms or non-audit firms or non-audit sector, wherever you will be working now. So when you go for interviews, before you go to the interview, sometime the company will call and tell you, okay, you come for the interview tomorrow. When you are coming, please carry or please take your original certificates. මුල් පිටපත් සමග පැමිණෙන්න කියලා කියනවා. ඇයි? Always the person who is interviewing you is believing that the original certificates are more reliable than the photocopies. Therefore, auditors in their life, always auditor look at originals. Always auditor look at originals, not the photocopies. Right? Remember that. This I am telling you fundamentally, theory as well as practically. Always auditor look at originals. Right. Then, now let's say there is an incident happen in your home. Shall we say there is a murder in your home? Inside the home there is a murder. Right. ගෙදර එක්කෙනෙක්ගේ මොකක් හරි වෙලා තියෙනවා. එක්කෙනෙක් මැරලා. දැන් පොලිසිය ඇවිල්ලා සාක්ෂි ගන්නවා. ඒ සාක්ෂි ගන්නකොට පොලිසියට ගොඩාක් රිලයබල්. ගෙදරගෙන් ගන්න සාක්ෂියද අල්ලපු ගෙදරින් ගන්න සාක්ෂියද? The external evidences are more reliable than the internal evidences. The external evidences are more reliable than the internal evidences. That is why auditors, when there is a bank balance, that is why auditors take a direct confirmation from the bank. Because rather than getting a confirmation from the management, getting a confirmation from the bank is more reliable. Clear? Right. So then, external evidences are more reliable than the internal evidences. Likewise, you can discuss this reliability of audit evidences in detail. It is given in the study text. Please have a look on that. Right. So what I was trying to explain here as the first point is the audit evidence. In this audit evidence, you basically should aware this audit evidences has two main characteristics, that is sufficient and appropriate, and also all this information should be relevance and reliable. Relevance means logical connection, reliable means source, basically written evidences, originals and external evidences, right. So I hope that you are clear with that point number 1. Right. So then point number 2, finance statement assertion, which we have already discussed. Finance statement assertion in this chapter. Before starting the discussion of this one, the part A, I have completed that. This is something which is a very important, right, very important thing you should remember in this chapter. Number 1 is what is audit evidence. This is most important, finance statement assertion. So what I request you, අර මම කිව්වනේ account balances වලට කියමුද මගෙත් එක පොඩ්ඩක්. අර කලින් වීඩියෝ එකේදී දැන් ඒ වීඩියෝ එක නෑනේ. කලින් වීඩියෝ එකේදී මම ෆයිනාන්ස් ස්ටේට්මන්ට් assertion වර්ග දෙකකට කඩනවා. එකක් තමයි account balances වලට දාන assertion and then transaction වලට අදාළ වෙන assertion කියලා. Right. Can you tell with me? කියමුද මගෙත් එක්ක? Account balances assertion number 1. Existence, rights and obligation, valuation, completeness, presentation and classification. Other one is transaction side, occurrence, completeness, cutoff, accuracy, classification, presentation, right? So I hope that you can remember that, right? So you have to, if you can't remember, please that 12 assertions write in a paper. පොඩි කොලයක ලියලා පාඩම් කරන මේ තැනක ගහලා තියාගන්න. මොකද ඒක ලයිෆ් ටයිම් එකක්. ඔයාලා මතක තියාගන්න වෙනවා මේක. There is no option. If you can't remember, try to memorize that 12 assertions. Right, then number 3 which we have to learn is so we call audit procedures, right? Audit procedures, or we call auditor's response. Sorry. Right. These audit procedures are basically, we discussed the last week, basically we divide into two this classification. Remember, risk assessment procedures, and further audit procedures. We discussed in the previous video. Risk assessment procedures, further audit procedures. These risk assessment procedures, if you can remember, there were 4 risk assessment procedures. Can you tell with me? One is inquiry, observation, inspection, other one is analytical procedures. Can you remember these things? Can you remember? These audit procedures are divided into 2 in auditing: risk assessment procedures and further audit procedures. Risk assessment procedures, we discussed last video, the risk assessment. So what is the risk assessment, how that is being made done, how practically this is done, and what are the procedures available, we discuss in detail. So that risk assessment procedures are coming here. Now further audit procedures also I just mentioned you in the previous week. The further audit procedures basically, right, divide into 2. One is test of control. Can you remember? Test of controls, substantive procedures. Right? Further audit procedures are divided into 2: test of control and substantive procedures. Substantive procedures are further divided into 2: substantive analytical procedures and test of details. You see, this classification you shall remember. So auditors procedures are basically divided into 2: risk assessment procedures and further audit procedures. ඒ කියන්නේ risk එක assess කරන්න කරන procedure උයි, risk එක assess කරාට පස්සේ කරන procedure උයි. Risk assessment procedures, inquiry, observation, inspection, analytical procedures, which we have discussed in the previous webinar. Then further audit procedures also discussed. Further audit procedures divided into 2: test of control and substantive procedures. Substantive procedures are further divided into 2: substantive analytical procedures and test of details. Right? This classification you shall remember in theoretical angle. Right? So if I explain you what is meant by substantive procedures, what is meant by test of control, what is meant by test of control, what is meant by substantive procedures. Now, Now this is a pen. Right. If I am auditor, if I want to ensure this has a pen, මට පුළුවන් මේ pen එක අත ගාලා බලනවා මේක pen මේක පෑනක්. I can touch and see, okay, it's a pen. There is a land in a company, that land is 5 million. In order to ensure that that land is actually it is available for us, it's owned by us, or actually it is available, it is correctly valued, it is complete. In order to ensure that, what I can do, I can verify the original land deed. Auditor himself engaged in gathering the audit evidences. Auditor incurred a lot of timing. Auditor incurred a lot of timing and gathering their auditor himself is gathering the information, and auditor himself getting a comfort. That type of procedures are called substantive procedures. That type of procedures are called substantive procedures, right? Checking the land deed, calling bank information, doing the physical verification of inventory. There are a lot of, we will be discussing the practical side later. All these are called substantive procedures. Right? What is meant by test of control? We will be discussing under the internal control chapter in later, right? Test of control. So test of control, now let's say, last webinar I gave example. If you are to audit the revenue of Food City, if it is a substantive procedure, you have to check all the invoices. Just imagine a Sunlight sale of Food City. අපේ invoice check කරන්න කොච්චර check කරන්නද? දවසකට Sunlight sale කොච්චර විකිනනවද outlet එක? outlet කීයක් තියෙනවද ලංකාවේ? ඒක වැඩි කරන්නකො දින 365යි. මොකද 365ම Food City ඇරලා. Right? So its numbers are huge. Auditor cannot perform the substantive procedures. In such circumstances, auditor adapt a shortcut. That is, I will explain like that. So, right, auditor adapt a shortcut. That is called test of control, testing of control, test of control, testing of control. That means the company has implemented so many control in the Food City premises. අපි බලනවා කම්පැනි එක ගොඩාක් පාලනයන් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ කම්පැනි එක ගොඩාක් පාලනයන් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා තියෙනකොට වරදියක් වීමේ සම්භාවිතාවය ඉතාමත්ම අඩුයි. එතකොට අපිට පුළුවන් නම් කන්ක්ලූෂන් එකට නිගමනයකට එන්න කළමනාකරණයෙන් විසින් හොඳට පාලනයන් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා තියෙන නිසා අර ආදායම කියන එකේ ප්‍රමාණාත්මක සාවද්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන තියෙන්නට බෑ. You got my point, right? It is something little bit advanced thinking because sorry, auditor thinks since the management has implemented so much of control, auditor is performing certain audit procedures to test their control. To test their controls to see whether those controls are effectively designed and implemented within the company premises. In order to verify that, what the auditors are doing is called testing of control, test of control, testing of controls. So this part will be done again under the internal control chapter. But for the moment, remember, this is substantive procedures mean auditor always goes and check himself, documents, verification, inspection, recalculation, reperformance. There are a lot auditor does, incurring so much of time. For example, good example is a land deed verification, motor vehicle registration, physical verification of inventories, attendance, all these. Test of control is something different. Auditor can't check the volume is so high, but the controls are good in the business organization. Auditor looking at the company's control and verify whether those controls are in place. The controls are in place, we believe and we conclude that company's finance statement do not have a material misstatement in terms of that particular line item. Very good example is revenue. Example is revenue verification. Here example we will say land deed verification. So what to apply now, we will be discussing later. What to apply? test of control or substantive procedures are, it is auditor's judgment. Auditor only decide whether it has to be applied the test of control or it has to be applied substantive procedures. It's auditor's judgment depending on the risk assessment. I know this is not easy, right? The way the things I am telling you is not easy, but I am telling you the truth. In a real live example, with real live example, try to understand. If you don't understand, please go back, because always I believe, as I told you from the beginning, you have to learn in a systematic order. පියවරෙන් පියවර එකින් එක ෂෝට් නෝට් එකක් දාගෙන මේ විදිහට ඉගෙන ගන්න. එතකොට මේක පැටලෙන්නේ නැහැ. නැත්තම් අපි ඔක්කොම ගෙනල්ලා මේ බෝඩ් එකේ ලෑන්ඩ් කරොත් you will not be able to understand anything. So that is why from the auditing process, from the webinar number 1, 2, 3, 4, part A, part B, if you see, I have been following a systematic order. Then end of the day, you should be able to explain to anyone what is meant by auditing, or what is the auditing process that we should follow, right? So then, substantive procedures are further divided into two: substantive analytical procedures and test of detail. So we will be discussing now next item. Substantive analytical procedures will be discussing later. Test of detail, right? That I will explain the analytical procedures and I'll come and explain here, right? So then another classification. So another classification auditor can do is in the audit procedures is, right, there are two things. One is audit procedures, one classification is this classification is overall response. This we discussed last week, overall response. So that means certain procedures can be done for the entire finance statement, that is called overall response. Other one we call assertion level response. Assertion level response. You see, this is one way of classifying the audit procedures. This is another way of classifying audit procedures. Overall response, assertion level response. Now you know the assertion very well, right? Certain procedures can be done for the entire finance statement, we call overall response. Certain things can be done, not the entire thing, not the line item, but that line item contains another sub item. That sub item level we can perform the audit procedures. Example, existence of inventory, then valuation of trade debtors, occurrence of revenue, cut-off of expenses, right? So therefore those are called assertion level response. This assertion level response is the one again connected to here, right? So assertion level responses can be, so that means if somebody say assertion level response and further audit procedures, both are same. Clear? I hope you are clear. So otherwise I can write the same thing here. Assertion level responses, test of control, substantive procedures, something like that, but both are same. So that's why connected to there, right? I hope that you are clear with the audit procedures. Classification, there are two types of classification. So even if we say further audit procedures and assertion level responses, both are same. There you shall remember what is meant by test of control, what is meant by substantive procedures. The definitions are given in the study text. You should remember, right? Because those definition, there is a possibility of checking on those things, because you all are learning the BL5 auditing is in, this is the very first subject, auditing. So those definition and those example for one or two example for each procedure and classification like this, you have to remember, right? Then I am coming to the number 4. Number 4, analytical procedures. මොකද්ද මේ? So analytical procedures, අපි සිංහලෙන් කියන විශ්ලේෂණාත්මක ක්‍රියාපටිපාටි. මොකද්ද මේ? So maybe tiring now, watching the videos continuously, and your examination may be getting close, and right, so maybe tired now, and you may be feeling not to do the exam this time because I have not done so many things, so I will do the next time. But you will be the same. You will be doing same thing in the next time also. You will not be doing. So therefore, if you apply the exam, විභාගෙ දැම්ම නම් ලියන්න ඕන, right? මේ පාඩම් කරන්න ඕනේ, අපි study plan එකක් හදාගෙන, පොඩි plan එකක් හදාගෙන, our plan එකක් දාගෙන මේක මහන්සි වෙන්න ඕනේ. chartered accountant කෙනෙක් වෙන එක ලේසි නැහැ. It's not an easy task. It's a really hard job. It's a hard work. So you have to be a really committed character. If you are a very lazy, lethargic and are always in social media or always sleepy mood and like that, so it's very difficult to become a chartered accountant. If you are a really committed person, if you are really challenged, you are ready to take up the challenges and you are really committed to your studies, irrespective of your A-level results, there are so many chartered accountants. I'll tell you one example for you all to just to motivate you all. There was two students which I know from 2013. These two students, I'll tell you, I'm not going to tell the names. So these two students, one student is 2013, if I'm not mistaken, around 2013 I met. So one was the island rank. It's a very good island rank, triple A's, and island rank I may be within plus 10. Right. Another one, 2S 1C or 2C 1S. I can't exactly remember. This is a girl, this is a boy. Right. Both of them I met and both of them called me somewhere around 2017 if I am not mistaken, and they are going for the convocation. I was wondering, no doubt that this girl is being such a brilliant character, no doubt that. I hope that, no, but there are not a lot of brilliant cases are not going to the convocation, they got stuck in their education, but she went and now she is in Canada, right, I know. Then there is this boy from somewhere on Mount Lavinia, so it's not a educating, I mean, study mind එක හිටපු කෙනෙක් නෙවෙයි, නිකන් ඔහේ නිකන් අර A level අතෑරලා නිකන් අර පිස්සු නඩලා අර එහෙම study plan එක හිටපු කෙනෙක් නෙවෙයි, right? But you see the courage, irrespective of the A level result. Now he's very dynamic person, so he wanted to learn. Because he lost the A level. Because he lost the A level, he made it a point that to become a chartered accountant one day and getting into a good salary and get into a good life. If he had thought that I had only the A-level resources 2C and 1S, how can I become a chartered accountant? There are so many A-level best results, so they should become a chartered accountant before I. If we think like that, if we thought like that, what would have been happened to him today? He would have maybe just account executive or doing something else. But today he's a chartered accountant and working in some foreign countries. I can't exactly remember, but he called me recently as well. So I'm telling these two examples not to tell anything, but to remember your past will not decide your future. Your past will not decide your today, but you have to think today will decide, today matters that you are attending will decide your future. So therefore you need to think seriously and study properly during this examination time and get through the examination as soon as possible and try to be qualified chartered accountant. Then that is the solution for so many problems that you face in your life, right? So now analytical procedures mean something similar to like this. When the company's financial statements are given, auditors are looking at very analytical way. Can you remember something that I call professional skepticism? Something similar to like that. Auditors looking at financial statements are in an analytical way. Vishleshanaatmaka kriyapatipati. You look at the finance statement in a different way. We call, for example, I will tell you one example. Right? The company will say revenue. Revenue 2020, 2019, right? this year revenue is 1000 million, last year revenue is 500 million, right? An auditor always look at a different percentage of increase. You see, the 500,000 has become 1,000 means there is a 100% increase, right? Now auditor calculate these differences with compared to the previous year. Similarly, auditor can see debtors, right? Last time debtors it was, let's say 300 million, and this time debtors have gone up by 900 million. You see, can you see this? Auditors are looking at an analytical way, looking at 2020 figures and 2019 figures. Looking at 2020 figures and 2019 figures, see, auditor comes to a conclusion that the revenue has gone up by 100%, 500 has gone up to 1000 million, it's an increase by 100. And auditor looking at another figure, trade debtors, earlier it was a 300 million, now it has become a 900 million, it's a 200% increase. Now auditor thinks like this, when the revenue is going up by 100%, debtors have gone up by 200%. Something wrong somewhere. Something wrong somewhere. It doesn't say something specifically wrong. It doesn't say something specifically wrong, but something wrong somewhere. Something wrong somewhere can be identified by performing this type of procedures called analytical procedures. Got the point? So now in analytical procedure, this is one way of doing analytical procedure. You are looking at the comparative figures, the differences, and you are linking with the so many other finance statement line item and trying to figure out whether there are abnormalities, whether there are abnormal percentage or abnormal changes that have happened during the year, which indicate something wrong somewhere. Then you have to take up the further audit procedures and go into detail and check on that what has happened. This is one way of doing. Another one is a ratio calculation. You see, this one. And number two, ratios. You can see GP ratio, 2019, 2020. The GP last, let's say 2000, I will take here 2020, 20 and 2019. So GP, the last year it was a -3 and this time 20%. You see, gross profit ratio, NP ratio, working capital ratio, current asset ratio, quick asset ratio, what you learned, all the ratios in your A level or in your accounting, Anupata. All these auditors are calculating in the finance statement for what? To look at the abnormalities or to look at the problems in the finance statement, to look at the areas where there could be problems, right? So therefore this ratio calculation can be done and compare with the company information, compare with the previous year information, compare with the competitors information, compare with the foreign country information. So you can compare with the so much of resources or sources and see whether this indicates something wrong somewhere, then auditor has to go and check further, right? So this is two example I told you. Auditors are look at in analytical procedures. One is looking at the figures, another one is a ratio calculation. In addition to that, auditors are doing so many things in the analytical procedures. You might have learned trend analysis, regression analysis, right? Likewise, regression analysis means one of the mathematical method, and statistical certain methods auditors are using. Certain softwares, like for example, audit command language, ACL software. So likewise, certain softwares are used by the auditors in performing these analytical procedures, right? So therefore, you should remember that analytical procedures are basically performed at the two stages. You can see risk assessment procedures, also analytical procedures are there, right? And here also analytical procedures are there, right? So therefore auditors are performing analytical procedures in a two stages, risk assessment stage and the substantive procedure level. So basically analytical procedures mean what? auditors look at the differences, calculate the ratios and compare the answers and trying to figure out whether there are abnormalities in the finance statement which are being audited as of now, and if yes, you go into the further detail and check whether those balances contain material misstatement. So that is called finance analytical procedures. So that is a very good question, but I don't think I will have a time to discuss on that. Look at the presentation. So this is in the study text. This is in the study text, right? So if you see this question analytical procedures, you are part of the audit team auditing the finance statement of Sweep and Co., a small office supplies business for the year ended 31st March 2009. The company employed the following staff at the start of the financial year: 7 office aide and warehouse managers, 20 warehouse staff and 25 office staff. The pay range of each category of staff is shown below. Office and warehouse managers 70 to 100, warehouse and office staff 36 to 50. So you have been asked to audit the wages and salaries expense for the year. All staff were given a 4% pay raise in the year backdated to the start of the year. One of the office managers left the company halfway through the year. 2 new members of warehouse staff and 3 new members of office staff joined halfway through the year. The expense for the year is shown in the draft statement of profit or loss as rupees 2.5 million. Required. Using analytical procedures, perform a proof in total in the wages and salary. This is one of the analytical procedure. This is a good IQ question actually. This IQ question mean, so here something, some intelligent student can do this one, right? So what I am requesting you, so I am not going to discuss this question because very fantastic question. So this is something called beautiful auditing. So can you do this question along? මේක ඇත්තටම proof in total කියලා කියන්නේ දැන් ඔයාලට මෙතන කරන්න ඕනේ දැන් මෙයා figure එකක් දීලා තියෙනවනේ 2.5 million කියලා figure එකක් company එකේ balance sheet එකේ තියෙනවා P&L එකේ. දැන් අපිට කරන්න ඕනේ මේ දීලා තියෙන figures ටික පාවිච්චි කරලා අපි estimate එකක් හදන්න ඕනේ. මෙන්න මේක වෙන්න ඇති උත්තරේ කියලා. ඒතර මේ දෙක අතර වෙනස සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ලොකු වෙනසක් නැත්තම් ඔයාගේ හදන estimation එකයි ඔයාගේ හදන proof in total එක. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයා හදන ඔයාගේ මේ දීලා තියෙන information ටික පාවිච්චි කරලා මෙන්න මේ උත්තරේ වෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා උත්තරයක් හදනවනේ. ඒ උත්තරේ මේක දීලා තියෙන උත්තරය අතර ලොකු වෙනසක් නොවෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ මොනොත් එකට අපින proof in total කියලා. proof in total. ඒ කියන්නේ total එක prove කරගන්නවා total එක හරි කියලා. Right, we are not going to, that proof in total mean it is not that going to tally the each balance item. It's not going to tally one by one. It's not going to be tallied, but it is something. It's coming to the closure, right? So it's coming to the closure. So it's some type of estimation. So what I'm requesting you, so can you read this question? It is in the study text as well. Answer also there in the study text. So please just do a answer is very detailed given in the study text. I should not waste my time because we have other things to discuss. So this, if you can do a උත්තරේ බලන්න එපා study text එකේ බලන්න නැතුව මේක proof in total කියලා කියන්නේ අර ඔයාගේ estimate එකක් හදාගන්න එක. මේකේ තියෙන information ටික හදලා මෙන්න මේක වෙන්න පුළුවන් උත්තරේ කියලා එකක් හදාගන්න. average computation එකක්. ඒකයි company එකේ P&L එකේ තියෙන උත්තරය අතර ලොකු වෙනසක් වෙන්න බෑ. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි කියන auditors ලගේ acceptable range එක 10% කියලා. මේක 10% කියලා rule එකක් නෑ. අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි ගන්නවා 10% කියලා. සාමාන්‍ය variance එක ඔයාට ආපු උත්තරේයි company එකේ P&L එකේ තියෙන උත්තරය අතර 10%ක වගේ වෙනසක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒක ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෙවෙයි. හැබැයි මේක 20ක් 30ක් 40ක් 50ක් වෙනස් වෙනවා නම් there is a problem, right? So therefore if you can do this one is better, otherwise I can quickly discuss also. Right, if you quickly see, otherwise what you can do is pause the video, please pause the video and please do the question, and then after that you continue with the video, then I can discuss with you the this answer is an interesting answer. So the calculator, you should have the calculator when you are going to the auditing paper as well, so take the calculator as well, so then it will be easy for you. So if I will quickly I'll delete this one and after that I'll again rewrite, right? In this question it says, so if you look at here look at the presentation, There are two types of people in this company. One is office. So the space will not be enough. So I'll delete this, all this, and I'll rewrite again. Right. So there are two types of people. One is office and warehouse managers. Right. Another one is seven office and warehouse managers. Right. 7 is there, and warehouse staff. Second one is warehouse staff. Another one is office staff. Right. So warehouse staff is, we have 20 and office staff is 25. Right. Those are the information given here. There you are the part of, you are part of the audit team auditing the finance statement of Sweepco small office supplies business for the year ended 31st March 2019. The company employed the following staff at the start of the financial year: 7 office and warehouse managers, 20 warehouse staff and 25 office staff. The pay range for each category of staff is shown below. Office and warehouse managers, it's 70,000 to 100,000. If you take up the average, salary, you have to, in this type of circumstances, you have to take the average salary. So it's 85,000 average salary. So in this both category, if you look at in this both category, average salary 36,000 to 50,000 mean. So average salary is coming about 43,000 if I am not mistaken. Yes, 43,000, right? So now this is the details given there. Then it says, so you have been asked to audit the wages and salaries expense for the year. So all the staff given a 4% pay rise in the year. So that means, so 4% increase has been given here, and both the people 4% have given. Both the category, the salary increases have given. And if you look at the 85,000 into 4% mean, so 88,400, take the calculator and calculate and see. And 43,000 into 4% increase mean 44,000. I don't have a calculator, but I have the answer. So 44,720, right? So then now you have the salary, average salary for each category you have now for the year. Then say one of the office manager left the company halfway through. Now if you look at here, so office managers, right, you had a 7 staff, but one of the office managers left the company halfway through the year. So that means 6 months he was there. So therefore, so you have to minus from the 7, you see, from the 7 you have to minus 1, right, because actual salary cost in calculated, but halfway through. So therefore you can't reduce 1, you have to reduce half. You have to reduce half. So that means 6.5 into 88,400 is the cost related to this office managers. Answer should come 574,600. This is a interesting calculating, right? And then other two category, right? Other two category, you have altogether 25 mean 45 people, right? And the information given here, 2 new members of the warehouse staff and 3 new members of the office staff joined halfway through the year. So new people have come, 2 new members of the warehouse staff and 3 new members. That means altogether 5. Altogether 5 have come, but halfway through. So therefore 2.5 you have to reduce. So that means, so altogether 45, that means 47.5 is the calculation for this category, and into 44,720. The answer should come 2,124,200. 200, right. If we get the total of these two cost, it will be 2698, I don't have the calculator, 800, right. Now, you see, you estimated your computation. This is what I want to show you, the analytical procedures. Now, there are certain information given, this number of staff and their average salary and the increase in the year, and then the new people join, resign people, and all the informations were given. So, you have tabulated all this information and you have arrived at your figure. This should be the answer. This calculation is nothing in your examination. This calculation will not be coming, but I am just telling you to think what is analytical procedures, proof in total. So, based on the information given here, so you have calculated and taken your figure 2.698800. Now, look at the presentation. The answer given in the question in the study text, it is 2567. So, then 2567. If you look at the my answer and the examiner, sorry, my answer and the what is given in the P&L answer, the difference into the percentage, that means the mage uttere 2.6, habai company ke P&L එකේ තියෙන 2.5. මේ දෙක අතර වෙනස percentage එක කීයද? මේ දෙක අතර වෙනස percentage එක if you deduct 2.5 million from 2.6 million, and if you take it to the percentage, it will come around 5%. It will come out of 5%. So 5% mean what? The variance of the your answer and the P&L, what is given in the P&L, it's less than 10%, it's a 5%. So therefore, so auditor is not required to do further verification. Why? This 5% is possible, no? Why? You have taken here average salary. You have not taken exact salary. So you have taken average salary and you have taken up to your calculation. Of course, you can't reach to the company answer, but you should come to the closure. That is what we call analytical procedures. Right? I hope that you are clear the way I have taken. If you are not clear, please go to the study text. Answer is very clearly given in the study text. I didn't want to do a calculation with you because auditing paper doesn't have much calculation, but I just want to show you how the auditors are thinking. So you have taken up the average salary and number of people, and then according to the average salary and what is the answer given in the P&L, and then you have to compare and see your answer and the company answer, whether that is getting closer or whether there are abnormalities. If there are no abnormalities, auditor is not required to go beyond that. So this is called analytical procedures. Right, I am going to delete this. So we had to discuss in between this question for you to further explain about the analytical procedures. So it is, I hope that it's clear to you now. And I'll rewrite where we were in this our diagram discussion. So we were in the discussion of audit evidence, right, and then here we were at number 3, audit procedures, right, audit procedures, and this can be divided into 2. We call overall response, and then here we were in the discussion of number 4, that is analytical procedures. Right, these analytical procedures I explained you in a very good way. So this is another 2 example, ratio and analysis, trend analysis, so many things can be done. It is there in the study text, you can read. So then the last one under this chapter, there are 2 things. Number 5, sampling. So which I am not going to explain you in detail. So look at the study text. Sampling mean you know. So now that day also explain you, if there are 1000 debtors, auditor cannot check the entire 1000. So auditor will select a sample here from this if you call this is a population, From here auditor will select a sample, right, and auditor, let's say 100, auditor checks the 100 and come to a conclusion that the 1000 is correct. It's a sampling. This is called population, this is called sampling. So how the sampling is made, there are method called systematic, non-systematic method, and random sampling, Monterey sampling. There are some few way of calculations are there, so that is there in the study text. So with the given limited time I will not be able to discuss. Please go through, this is not a difficult one, sampling one. And the last one under the audit evidence is right. Last one under the audit evidence is practical audit procedures. Practical audit procedures. Right. So these are the things I will be taking up the practical procedures separately. So now these are the things audit evidence. What is audit evidence we discussed, and the finance statement assertion we discussed. Audit procedures I discussed in a theoretical angle. This has to be remembered you properly, and then analytical procedures were discussed with the example. I hope that you are clear. Then the sampling I just told you, but you have to go into the further detail, and the practical audit procedures which we want to discuss now, which is an important thing, right. What is this practical audit procedures? Now these are theory behind the auditors. These are theory that the auditors mind when they are practically doing the work. So in your BL5 syllabus we are not much focusing on a practical audit procedures, but you need to have a basic understanding on that. Even in your study text we don't have many things from the practical side, but I will take you through about 10 to 15 minutes for the practical side of the auditing. Right, this is practical audit procedures. Now previously we discussed the theory side, but this is a practical audit procedures. So now you may be wondering, what is this practical audit procedures? What is theory and what is practical? So just let me to explain 2 to 3 minutes, which is not there in the study text, something beyond, but you should aware this one. So practical audit procedures. Now when auditor comes and check the, now here let's say the management, the shareholder and auditor. Auditor comes and check the finance statement. Auditor comes and check the finance statement. The finance statement contains basically mainly 3 things which I explained you. One is account balances, right. Other one is transactions, right. Other one is disclosures, right. So account balances mean statement of financial position, otherwise balance sheet. Transaction mean basically income statement, and this is disclosures can be there in everywhere. So when auditor come and check this finance statement, an auditor has to gather the information to base his conclusion. That is called evidence. That we discuss the theory side, what are the procedures can be done, substantive procedures, substantive analytical procedures, test of detail, test of control, risk assessment procedure. It's a mad auditing. Mad auditing I would say. It's a complex auditing. There are a lot. But forget about all these theory and think like this. Auditor is going to check the finance statement. If the auditor is checking the finance statement, mean finance statement contains account balances, transactions and disclosure. That mean auditor is going to check the line items of the finance statement. For example, auditor is going to check the property, plant and equipment, intangible asset, inventory, debtors, right, creditors, stated capital, gratuity, right. Likewise all the balance sheet item you can write here. So the other thing, cash and bank, cash and bank, Any other thing in the balance sheet you can write here, right? So I will say the deferred tax, let us say deferred tax, income tax also can be written. If you look at the P&L, you will have the revenue and you will have the expenses. Expenses will be admin, maybe finance, maybe distribution, another maybe salary cost, maybe tax expense. So likewise, there can be so many transactions in the P&L. The balance sheet there are many, P&L there are many. Under the disclosures there can be lot of disclosures come in here, going concern, and there can be subsequent event after the reporting date, if you can remember, subsequent event, related party transactions, all these are disclosures in the accounts. And there can be so many things like, for example, depreciation amount can be depreciation policy will be disclosed, and then the investment property disclosures will be made, fair value disclosures will be made. Likewise, there are a lot of disclosures. So look at here now, the auditor comes and check the finance statement, mean auditing all these items. That's it. Do you agree with me? You can think about the test of control, substantive procedures, substantive analytical procedures, all these words are come in. But don't think too much on those words, just look at the theory, but think in a bit in a practical way. Auditor means chartered accountant come and check the finance statement which is prepared by the management to be given to the shareholder. That's it. කළමනාකරණය විසින් පිළිල කරන ලද මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන වරලත් ගණකාධිකාරීවරයෙක් ඇවිල්ලා පරීක්ෂා කරනවා. ඒකනේ ඔඩිටින් කියලා කියන්නේ. එතකොට මේ මූල්‍ය ප්‍රකාශන කට්ටලය මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? balance sheet, P&L and other disclosures. එතකොට අපි ඔඩිට් කරනවා කියලා මොනවද කරන්නේ? මෙන්න මේ item check කරන එක තමයි කියන්නේ. එච්චරයි, simple. So now in your examination, there will be one or two practical scenarios like this. What is the best audit procedure for inventory? අන්න එතන තමයි හිර වෙන්නේ. මේකට තියෙන හොඳම විගණන ක්‍රියාපටිපාටිය මොකද්ද? revenue check කරන්න මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕනේ? going concern කරන්න මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕනේ? That you need to have a little bit understanding. Right? As far as the PP is concerned, under the property plant and equipment there are many. For example, land. Then now දැන් හිතන්න ඕනේ මේක. කටපාඩම් කරන්න මේවා පොත් බලලා ලියන්න බෑ විභාගෙට චුට්ටක් හිතන්න ඕනේ. Now there is a land. What you will do land? What you can do? Check the land deed to ensure the ownership. But always remember another one more thing, when you are doing the audit procedures, you are not doing the audit procedures for these line item, but you are doing the audit procedures for assertions of each item, right? So now for example, PP, you say the land, motor vehicle registration certificate, you will be checking for a motor vehicle. Land it will be checking. Fixed register will be checking. And the intangible asset license will be checking. Inventory, remember, key audit procedure for inventory for existence is auditor shall attend to the physical verification of inventory. So that means when the management should conduct a physical verification, අපි කරන stock count එකක් කියලා. When they conduct the stock count, auditor should be participating as an observer. Not that auditor is going to count, right? Auditor is not going to count, but auditor will be attending as observer, as an observer. Auditor will not be counting, remember that. Who will be counting? Management. Auditor will go to observe that. බලන්න යනවා. That is the key procedure. Then the debtors, key procedure is calling confirmation, getting the confirmation from the trade debtor. Creditors would be, main one would be calling confirmation or checking the subsequent payments. Stated capital, check the secretarial records. Gratuity, check the computation. Cash and bank, get the confirmation. Deferred tax, check the computation. Revenue, perform the test of controls. Expenses, check the documents related to the payments. Salary, check the payroll. Tax expense, check the tax computation. Going concern, subsequent when RPT will be discussed separately. That is another important session that you have to learn separately. So just for the moment, forget about that. They are also same thing. So now you need to aware what are the audit procedures for account balances and transaction in a summary form, which is not there in your study text in detail. Just a theoretical background is given, but I believe that you have to remember at least 1 or 2 audit procedure which are applicable for each line item. Remembering 1 or 2 is enough. එහෙම ඕන in detail ගොඩාක් ඕන එකක් දෙයක් මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ, right? මේ හැම එකටම. If you can remember that, ඊට පස්සේ එකක් දෙයක් මතක තියාගෙන ඒකත් එක්ක ප්‍රශ්න වලට උත්තර ලියන revision kit එකේ. මේක කටපාඩම් කරලා ලියන්න පුළුවන් එකක් නෙමෙයි, මේක හිතන්න ඕන කාරණයක්. Because auditors, now I am a partner of audit firm. When somebody comes and asks me what should be done for the debtors, I am not looking at a standard book. It is done through my practice. I have been last 10 years, I have been the auditor. I have been an auditor. So I know what to be done. So similarly, that skill should be developed in your attending your examination. Rather memorizing, the skill will help you a lot. So what I am recommending. So in your study text also, certain key procedures are given for the balance sheet item, right? So in addition to that, I have a small document which I have prepared for corporate level students, CL1, right? For them I have prepared, that is not much more advanced for you, but just to have a look only. So each and every line item I have given 5 audit procedures, 5, right? But it's always good that if you can just read that, not to memorize or not to, just to read that, only for reading, not anything else. But only thing is, how can I give you is a question which is already I have shared to the social media. So otherwise I don't have any other way of giving that one. So it's already, I have already given for CL1, but I can share in the social media again, so that you can download and take from the social media pages, because otherwise there is no way of getting or giving this one. But it's not really required also. If you think it's not really required for you to go through that document, you look at the study text and try to understand. But I am telling you for a little bit, I always believe that always auditing student should be logical. Always should look at the logical way of thinking has to be developed throughout your studies. So it will be helpful for you. That's if you wished only. So otherwise you just study text also, that is enough. But what I want to tell you is, so these audit procedures should be known in a summary. At least this we will be discussing separately next webinar. But these audit procedures should be known, and you should feel what to be done. Now for example, deferred tax. If somebody asks from me what should be done for the deferred tax, check the computation, right? Or somebody will ask another one, inventory, what should be done? Attend the physical verification. Land deed, what should be done? Check the land deed. Motor vehicle register certificate, what should be done? Check the register certificate. Something like that. So immediate answer should come. Try to think. So on this background, listen in this video, go to the study text, read carefully, go to the revision kit question, attend the revision kit properly, right? And argue yourself the answers. If you have any question, you can reach to me. So I will explain you why, because these are little bit of practical scenarios, why this answer is best, so that you have to think in that way. Right, so that's all about the audit evidence discussion. So today the part A of the video and part B of the video what we discuss, and part A we discuss mainly how the audit evidences are coming and what are the things included in your chapter, and key thing which I discussed, finance statement assertion. You should never forget that in your chartered accounting career, right? The second thing which I explained you about the summary of auditing theory, where basically I did example for analytical procedures as well, and the test of control substantive. So all these discussions were made. Thirdly, I came, even though that is not in detail in your syllabus, I gave you a practical side of thinking, how to audit procedures are done by the audit firm, right? I hope that you are very much clear with this. Now we will go and just discuss few questions, and we can touch few more questions at our revision discussion at the last part of the webinar series, right? So now look at the presentation, question discussions. The first question now මේක උඩ බලාගෙන ලියන්න පුළුවන් ඕන කෙනෙක්ට කියන්න පුළුවන්. Audit evidence should be, no need to look at there. What is the answer? sufficient and appropriate. Audit evidence should be sufficient and appropriate to enable the auditor to reach an opinion on the finance statement audited. Which of the following order of word are the most appropriate to fill the above blanks, right? So no need to read others even because you know. Then pilot paper question number 27. So now this is a practical question. The previous question is a theoretical question. This is a practical question where you have to think bit in a practical way. මතක තියාගන්න විභාගෙට මේ question එක මේ practical scenarios ඔක්කොම මේ study text එකේ එහෙම නැහැ. You have to think and write. So you have to get the thinking and write. Right, in the sense select the answer. You are the senior in charge of the audit of Ratnapura Gems Private Limited. Which of the following audit tests provide the most reliable audit evidence related to the value of gem stock appearing in the statement of financial position of the company as at 31st March 2019. So the question is, what is the best audit procedure? Which of the following audit tests provide the most reliable audit evidence? Most reliable audit evidence is given under which answer? Now this of course has to be analyzed in a practical way, right? Obtaining a confirmation from management, obtaining an expert's opinion, physical verification of gem stock, company values with the market prices. Then අපෙන් අහන්නේ, we'll read the question again. You are the senior in charge in the audit of Ratnapura Gems Private Limited. Which of the following audit tests provide the most reliable audit evidence relating to the value of gem stock? මේ වචනේ දැක්කද? Value of gem stock. Sorry, gem stock. Right? මේ බලන්න මේක value. Right? අනිත් එක most reliable. Most reliable value එක. කියන්නේ most reliable evidence එක මොකද්ද value එක ගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා අහන්නේ. Obtaining a confirmation from the management, is it reliable? I told you at the explanation. ඉතින් දැන් මේක හොරාගේ අම්මගෙන් පේන අහනවා වගේ වැඩක් නේ. මැනේජ්මන්ට් එකනේ ඔය accounts හදුවේ. මැනේජ්මන්ට් එකෙන්ම ලියුමක් කරන් වැඩක් නැහැ නේ. අර තමන්ගේ චරිතය තමන් සහතික කරගන්නවා වගේනේ. So therefore obtaining a confirmation from management is not an reliable audit evidence. External evidences are more reliable than the internal evidence. So therefore part A is not an answer. Then part B, obtaining an expert opinion. Keep it that. Part C, physical verification of gem stock. Yes, physical verification is good. Then අපි physical verification ගියායි කියලා අපි දන්නවද මේ gem එක තියෙන වටිනාකම කීයද කියලා? අපි gem experts ලාද? නෑනේ. එතකොට අපි physical verification ගියායි කියලා gem stock එකේ තියෙන value එක සම්බන්ධයෙන් reliable evidence එකක් වෙන්නේ නෑනේ. Try to think in a practical way. You are going to the physical verification of stock or a stock count you are attending, but you see, just because of you are going, it doesn't ensure that the value is correct. That you should understand. So common sense. Then part D, comparing the values with the market prices. So that can be done. Yes. Comparing values with the market price, you can go to the gem stock market or some foreign market and all, you can compare those prices and see. But more than that, now you have answer B and D, both can be correct answer, But what is the most reliable audit evidence? It may be the obtaining an expert opinion, because gem stock is expert is a third party person. Expert will be a third party independent person, and that particular person may aware about all the matters in relation to the gem industry which we don't know, so therefore which we can't compare with the market. So therefore best answer for this is question part B, that is the answer B is the most appropriate answer. I hope that you are clear with the question. Then pilot paper question number 24. The auditor of Tharu PLC obtained direct confirmation from selected trade debtors appearing in the statement of financial position as of 31st March 2019. Which of the following finance statement assertions are covered by the above procedure? So now it's a very good question that you have to go into further detail into the study text. This is what I told you. Just learning the finance statement assertion will not be enough. Now you have to apply for the practical scenario. The auditors of Tharu PLC obtained direct confirmation from the selected trade debtors appearing in the statement of financial position. So now I told you the direct confirmation obtaining approach, where auditors are taking a confirmation from the debtor stating that so they are that debtor is payable the specified amount for the company which is being audited by the auditor. So calling confirmation, what are the assertions are covered, you have to think and write. So part A, rights and obligation and existence, of course these two are covered, because when the debtor confirm that there is an amount that he has to pay to the company, that indicate that the ownership of that amount receivable to the company, the rights and obligation and existence. ඒ සත්‍ය වශයෙන් එක පවතිනවා සහ සත්‍ය වශයෙන් අයිතියක් තියෙනවා. ওই දෙකම තහවුරු වෙනවා. Existence only නෑ, rights and obligation එකක් තියෙනවා. Therefore existence only cannot be taken. Existence, valuation, allocation and occurrence. Of course you should answer occurrence can't come under the trade debtor because occurrence is coming under only a transaction. Occurrence definitely can't come under the account balances, that you should remember. That is what I told you. All this assertion you should remember. So the occurrence can't come, so therefore answer C can't be, answer B can't be. Then answer D, completeness, rights and obligation and existence. So completeness කියලා කියන්නේ අපි සියලුම trade debtors ලා, දැන් අපි call කරන trade debtor කෙනෙක් විතර නෙවෙයි, සම්පූර්ණ trade debtors ලා නිවැරදිව ගිණුම් ගත වෙලාද කියලා තහවුරු කරගන්න පුළුවන් කරන complete කියලා. හැබැයි මෙතන අපි කියනවා the auditors of Tharu PLC obtained direct confirmation from selected trade debtors. අපි ඔක්කොම කට්ටියකින් confirmation call කරනවා නම් අතර completeness එක show වෙනවා. හැබැයි we are calling only from selected trade debtors. So in such circumstances answer D also wrong. So therefore correct answer is answer A, rights and obligation and existence. So I request you little bit more practical application, practicing of questions are needed in this section. What you should do is watch these webinars again, go to the study text and just little bit incur additional time in understanding this assertion, because with the limited time, so I will not be able to cover up the assertion, because otherwise if you are discussing this assertion itself you can discuss 6 hours. Only assertion you can discuss, I can discuss 6 hours. It's a very huge topic, but with the limited given 10 webinars time I have to cover up the full syllabus, so I will not be able to go into further details. So I request, please go back to the study text properly and other materials and the study text and practice more and more question. Then the revision kit question. So because you have to do the revision kit question as well, that is why I am always taking the revision kit question. The auditor of GPLC is performing audit procedures to confirm the company's ownership of motor vehicles. Which of the following would provide the most persuasive evidence of this? මේක නම් උඩ බලාගෙන ලියන්න පුළුවන්. මේක මම දැන් ඩිස්කස් කරා. motor vehicle එකක් සම්බන්ධයෙන් ownership එකක් සම්බන්ධයෙන් බලන්න ඕනේ මොකද්ද? motor vehicle registration certificate එක. That is the answer B, inspection of vehicle registration documents, right? Original has to be checked. Then the last one, revision kit question number 14.1.1. Which audit procedure describe an audit test to help? Which audit procedure describe in audit test to perform a proof in total? Proof in total. That means in order to ensure that the total that has come in the accounts is correct, auditor does an estimate through the analytical procedures. Proof in total of the depreciation charge for the year. So what would be the procedure? That also you can write, not the re-performance, not the confirmation, not the inspection, but the answer is analytical procedures. Right. Answer B. Okay, so with that we are going to conclude the session 4 part B. If you have any question with regard to this particular chapter, I am ready to help you. Remember, and also I have given my email ID and the mobile number. You can put me a WhatsApp message or in the Facebook message or anything. If whenever I have a time, I will help you, right? But only thing, give me 1 minute. 1 minute. So what we discussed today is a very large area. What we discussed last week and today is a very large area in auditing. If you look at the audit evidence or risk assessment and today audit evidence size, if it is about 25 to 30 hours discussion if you want to learn correctly. But during this 4 to 5 hours, I was trying to summarize the theory into a very significant matters, and I was trying to give you some foundation into the audit evidence, right? Remember that is not enough. So you need to go through the study text properly, you need to do the questions properly, and you need to practice more and more questions and think bit more in a little bit in a practical way with this base, making this understanding. And another thing is you have to do the question with keeping the time also, because sometimes you may be thinking, but the time will go, right? So therefore, try to practice those questions. So if you have any question, I am ready to help. So we will discuss, let's meet up the next webinar. Most probably the next 2 webinars I will be taking the disclosure side, otherwise this audit review and finalization, last chapter of auditing. So basically going concern and the subsequent one, and the next I will be discussing the audit reporting. So with that, the 55 marks of the auditing side of your syllabus is covered through in this webinar series. Thank you.